So, using Jehovah's Witnesses' own words, and I'm always say this because it comes out of the words of my brother-in-law and everybody else in the English congregations, especially. It says Jehovah's organization here on earth. Okay,
Correct.
Jehovah's organization here on earth has done more damage to the Kingdom Halls and to the Association of Brothers. Jehovah has shut down via his organization, because remember, words mean things. If you're saying that Jehovah has an organization here on earth, then Jehovah's organization here on earth shut down 120,387 Kingdom Halls.
And the real mother goes, no, 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 let her have the baby. She was willing. And Solomon was able to find out who the real mother was by the action and the love of the real mother. That is what Watchtower's like. They're a counterfeit mom. They're the counterfeit mother.
Hey, Jesse, what's up?
How you doing?
Hey, pretty good.
You gonna do it live?
Let's do it live.
Do it live. Hey, I was talking to you the other day about, you hear the Jehovah's Witnesses, they sound like the Brady Bunch. Remember when Jan was talking about, she was talking about
Marsha.
And I always mention that the Watchtower sounds like Jan Brady. Well, they're always talking about Russia.
It's a broken record. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sound like a broken record. And so you start looking into it, start digging into it. And there's a lot of similarities between Russia and the Watchtower, the leadership of Watchtower. Not just similarities of policy, maybe not of modern Russia, but of the former Soviet Union.
Correct.
And one of the things I've noticed is, and I told you, and I think you even asked me about it, you had a hard time understanding the concept that the Watchtower has closed more kingdom halls than Russia ever could.
2,000.
You came up with a number, right?
2,315 for Russia, 120,387 for Jehovah.
So the Watchtower has closed in the hundreds of thousands?
120.
Yeah. So Russia can't, because Russia is limited to its sphere of influence, where the Watchtower is full. They have a bigger sphere of influence in their religion than Russia does. Russia can only hurt them in Russia, but the Watchtower can hurt Jehovah's organization all over the world, and that's what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
In the Soviet Union, let me tell you something that happened in the Soviet Union around 1917, 1918, during the Reign of Terror, maybe leading up to those years. And have you heard of the term Reign of Terror?
Yeah.
Well, Lenin used it, and some biographers try to remember that there was certain committees in different cities that tried to scale back the Reign of Terror because they had already accomplished maybe central control. And Lenin kicked their butts and threatened to shoot them, and he said they were going to go full scale ahead. So anybody who accused him of destroying the land, destroying the country, he would tell them, yes, I'm doing that, so that I can build back better, or so I can build it up. I think his words that he used are so that he can build anew. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
So there's a philosophy out there that you destroy things so you can build anew. And I think what has happened, Watchtower has destroyed the old system. They have destroyed the old system that the Jehovah's Witnesses have known for 100 plus years. And they're building a new system. And that's the dictators of the past, Karl Marx, and he wasn't a dictator, but he was a theoretician, and Stalin and Lenin, they grappled with that question: how do we build anew? How do we build a new man? And throughout history, maybe in the French Revolution, in the Reformation, there was a new system. Things were being overthrown. What we're living through is great consequential times in our religion. The Watchtower has literally destroyed the old system. We've seen it with our own eyes. So I don't know if the Kingdom Halls will ever open, because the governing body has to be so happy, you can't believe it, that they have been able with this pandemic to destroy the old system. Now, before the pandemic, do you remember they said that you have to be willing to follow them no matter how illogical?
Correct.
It seems. Well, the old system of going to the Kingdom Hall 5 meetings a week and all that, it's over. It's over. OVUR, over. And they've come up with this new Zoom, this new digital. So what they have done is they have federalized the meetings. Everything is being recorded. Everything is being monitored. They have federalized. They have centralized all control. It has been I don't want to say godsend, but it has been a complete and total coup that they have taken over the religion. So there's no independent thinking, no more, nothing. So they have built back anew. Do you understand how that works?
Yes.
So they have literally gone through Armageddon. They have vanquished the old system, and now they are building a new system on earth. They're building a new system, literally building a new system. And so that's why I don't think, I could be wrong, but it just seems that it's too perfect. They have a new system within their hands, and they have done it. But here's the thing. Do you know why they have it? Now, the reason they have done it?
No.
The reason they have done it is because it's 2, 3, 4-fold. But let me just run some ideas at you. It could have been just by accident, or like you say, there are no coincidences that this fell on their lap. Because I remember for a decade you've been telling me they're looking for any reason to start all over, to scrap people. And you even tell me sometimes that you're wondering, are they making this up as they go along to chase people out of the organization?
It makes you wonder, like, who would come up with some stupid doctrines that Jehovah's Witnesses come up with, thinking that they're going to recruit people? It's the exact opposite. You start teaching people overlapping generation and just stuff like that. Just open, blatant lies, hoping that people leave. Look, if people leave, there's less people there, especially old people. If older people were to leave, older Jehovah's Witnesses were to leave, it's easier to steal the property. It's easier to steal from them. It's easier to confiscate more money from them, I think.
Correct.
And the ones that do stay, well, like, I don't want to mention her name, but let's just call her Maria. Her mom, her Jehovah's Witness mom, said that she's going to leave her house to the only person that's ever taken care of her, and that's Jehovah. Watchtower knows that the people that are old Jehovah's Witnesses that stay, they are completely indoctrinated, and they're going to give every bit of their inheritance to the Watchtower. I mean,
Right.
So it does make sense. Get rid of the people that are not going to give you anything. Keep the old timers that are going to give you everything, and bring in new blood and start a new religion. And it's easier to steal.
Yeah, that's the point right there. They start a new religion. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. They claim to be God's mouthpiece on earth. So everything you said is true. But they had a responsibility. They had a responsibility by saying that they are God's spokesperson on earth. They're God's channel to humanity. They had a responsibility not to abandon ship. They had a responsibility to keep those meetings going, to keep freedom of association going, to keep freedom of religion open.
Like World War I, like in World War II, and during the Cold War, they did that, right?
Well, here's the thing. Since the beginning of time, see, Watchtower is no longer a dictatorship of a single person. They are a dictatorship by committee. In its beginning, they had a dictator. A faithful and discreet slave was Brother Rutherford, Brother Russell, Brother Franz, Brother Knorr, and they had a strong grip on power. Just like a dictator, a central dictator, like like Lenin or Stalin, Pol Pot, Fidel Castro, Mikhail Gorbachev, Yuri Andropov, Leonid Brezhnev. These were strong dictators, Mao Zedong, and they worked with a committee, but they were always 100% in control. So let's say there was a proletariat and Lenin was working with a proletariat. He still had control. He ruled by decree. He didn't have a United States Constitution. He didn't have the First Amendment like me and you know about. No, they ruled by decree. That's the way Brother Rutherford ruled. That's the way Brother Russell ruled. That's the way Brother Franz ruled. That's the way Brother Knorr ruled. But now you have the governing body, a committee of 8 men. They are weak. And if you remember during the time of Mikhail Gorbachev, the Central Committee stripped him of his power. He was a weak central authoritarian. He was weak. So the governing body is now made up of 8 men. They are weak. They're not strong like Brother Rutherford. They're a fake. Mm-hmm. They're a fake, faithful and discreet slave. In the first part of the 20th century, Brother Russell, Brother Rutherford, they built the kingdom halls. They built the Jehovah's Witness religion, the Jehovah's Witness movement. Brother Knorr was probably there. Brother Franz was probably there. So they had skin in the game. They would have never, ever surrendered to going to the meetings. They would have never surrendered meeting publicly. In the 1974 yearbook, if you look it up, Brother Rutherford personally disfellowshipped Brother Balzerite, president of the German branch, because he had ceased the door-to-door activity. Because he had ceased the preaching activity, Brother Rutherford disfellowshipped him. There's no way that these men, when they were a centralized control, central dictatorship of one, the faithful, discreet slave used to be one person. When that happened, there was no way that these men were going to surrender the meetings. There was no way in hell they would have surrendered the meetings. But the governing body did. The reason the governing body did is because they're not real Christian men. They're not real, they're very weak, spineless cowards. I don't know how else to put it, but they're not even Christian people. Let me give you an example. Do you know what the meaning of the word Emmanuel means?
Go ahead. Enlighten us.
God with us. When Jesus left the heavenly realms to be with us, The Bible says that the angels yelled in exclamation. Some people think that the angels sang. Whatever it was a thunderous applause. It was of great consequence when God the Creator comes to be with us, Emmanuel. Even the existence of these spirit creatures was in question. Even their very lives, existence was in question. Jesus was coming to the realm of the physical. It was a great feat. Jesus did not use Zoom. He did not use the transfiguration to give his message or dreams. He physically came down to be with mortal man face to face. Now, he was a mortal man, and we had leprosy. We had all the diseases. But Jesus didn't social distance. Jesus didn't stop freedom of association or freedom of religion. He came down and he dwelt with men, imperfect, sick, mortal men who have diseases and viruses and bacteria, and Jesus dwelt with us. These men have surrendered the freedom of association, everything Jesus stood for, the freedom of religion, the freedom to meet with people in their own homes, to break bread, to debate. Jesus did all these things with humans. The Watchtower Society has decided, the organization has decided to do away with it because they're not a real leadership. They're not like the faithful and discreet slave of the past, who was one man. They're 8 men. They're not real. They're not real. That's why they were able to give up the meetings so fast, because they don't care. They're like the anti-type and type of the time of Solomon. Do you remember in Solomon's time when his wisdom was revealed to everybody? There was 2 women, and they were fighting over a baby, and then we come up with the word split the baby. And the fake mother, the counterfeit mother, said, no, go ahead and split the baby. And the real mother goes, no, let her have the baby. She was willing. And Solomon was able to find out who the real mother was by the action and the love of the real mother. That is what Watchtower is like. They're a counterfeit mom. They're the counterfeit mother. They're able to give up the meetings because they didn't build the meetings. They built nothing. But we don't know about these 8 men. And when crunch time comes to humanity, they quit.
Now, the governing body in the time of France, they had, the overlapping generation, right? They had, they knew they were somehow connected with Russell and Rutherford. They and their family members did build the religion, and they were all, shareholders, whatever. So you're right. They had skin in the game. They had a lot of skin in the game. And so you're right. So what you're saying is now this new batch of governing body members is like the woman in the days of Solomon that had no they just lived in the same home or
she's counterfeit.
Yeah, she's counterfeit.
She's a counterfeit mother. Yeah. And that's what the Watchtower is, the governing body. They're counterfeit Christian. They're counterfeit men. These are men who, when the times get tough, the tough goes zooming. But they were in a position of responsibility. They were in a position of responsibility. Brother Rutherford told Brother Balzerite, you're in a position of responsibility. If you can't do your duty, you're disfellowship. And he condemned him to hell. Go look up that information. He cursed the man for the rest of his life. Even the Nazis cursed him because they didn't like traitors. So that's what the governing body is. They're a bunch of traitors. When the going gets tough, they shut it down, and because they have a new system. You can't have a New Testament if the Old Testament isn't dead. You can't have a New Testament without a death. They have to kill the meetings for their new system. They had to kill the meetings, and now they have their new system in place. It worked out perfectly for these guys. But they're not they're counterfeit men, and the reason I say they're counterfeit men is because if you use their words, they and it's funny how they use the word system. Well, they got a new system. If you use the word faithful and discreet slave, in this new system, of course, they're the image. They're the image of the beast. They're not a real Christian. They're a camouflage. Because the word faithful and discreet slave is the total opposite of what a Zoom meeting is. Jesus talked about when you pray, you go to your room and you close your door and you pray in private. They're recording all of theirs on Zoom meetings. Now, in the Soviet Union in 1917, 1918, during the rise of the Reds, the religions came under the central state control. So did you know that, for example, the Russian Orthodox Church was a legal entity? It was a legal entity. And you wonder, well, religion was outlawed. No, religion wasn't outlawed. You have to be registered with the state and accepted. And the Russian Orthodox Church, or I don't know if it was the Russian Orthodox Church or just the Orthodox Church, but it was a legal entity because some of the elders and the bishops and so forth were spies of the state. They had to be working with the state. They had to pay bribes to the state. They had to pay rubles. They had to give all their fortune to the state. And so they were operating as spies for the state. So when they didn't care about the old people, the old generation, but they wanted to know who in the town was going to prayer meetings, who was going to Bible study meetings. And they would report it back to the state. or let's say they had a confession of that they did something, or they had ill feelings towards the state, the bishop or the elders had to report that to the state. Well, the Watchtower has done the same thing now. They're reporting everything to the state because all of their meetings are being recorded. So they're not discreet. What I'm saying is they're not faithful and they're not discreet. By definition, it's not discreet. It's an ungodly, un-American, un-Christian bastardization of a meeting. A total bastardization of what Christianity was.
Now, what about the spiritual food that Watchtower says that they give out?
It's true. It's spiritual food. It's spiritual food. But it is, remember I told you Jesus came down and gave of his body and his blood. There was physical, now you weren't eating the body, but you would eat the bread and you would pass the wine, and this symbolizes. And the cup that Jesus touched was the cup that the apostles cut. And so let's say Jesus had a coronavirus in his hand and he passed the bread. Is the bread that went into the mouth of the apostles. There was human contact with the divine. It was spiritual food at its most pure. What you have today is you have a genetically modified spiritual food. It is spiritually food, but it's genetically modified. It's an ungodly form of food, has no nutrients. It's a Zoom electronic food. It has no human interpretation. It has no human love. It's an electronic, genetically modified form of spiritual food of the worst kind. It has no nutrients. It's like the image of the beast. Remember Revelation, it talks about the image of the beast?
Correct.
The Watchtower says, oh, no, we got spiritual food. No, you have the image of a food. You don't have Christ. Once you abandon Christ, communion with Christ, you've abandoned the true spiritual food. You've abandoned the nutrients, the blood and the bread of life, which is Jesus Christ.
Now, follow me on this. Let's just say this happened. Jehovah has an organization here on Earth, and the COVID crisis hits. If the Jehovah's Witnesses would have gone Rutherford, Russell, Knorr, and France, and they would have told the government, the United States government, and every single Jehovah's Witness across the world is willing to go to jail. All of us are willing to go to jail. And the governing body says, we're the first ones. We're going to meet in New York and come arrest us. Come arrest us. Now, if Jehovah's organization here on earth would have done that, I would venture to say that the Catholics, the Seventh-day Adventists, and the Mormons and the Baptists, they would have had no other choice out of pure embarrassment. That, hey, these guys that we criticize of not even being Christian, we laugh at them. At least they have the balls to do this, right? So, and what I'm saying is, they missed the opportunity. The Jehovah's Witness religion missed the opportunity. If they would have gone to their roots, their heritage of the old time Jehovah's Witnesses, and they would have all risked going to jail, I think many apostates would have said, you know what? Yeah, this is a whack religion, but I'm willing to join just for this, just to die on this hill, that I'll go to jail, along with everybody, for going to church. So what I'm saying is Jehovah's organization here on earth really missed an opportunity to shine its light.
Correct. But you know what? In missed opportunities, they really took advantage of it. Who was it that said, don't ever let a disaster go to waste? Yeah. What they did with the COVID, they took advantage of it. Like in 1918, 1917, with the reign of terror in the Soviet Union. They kept the reign of terror, fear, because the fear, you start killing people. And that's what Watchtower has done. They have started killing the meetings. They have killed the association, killed freedom. They've reigned by terror. You see their faces all masked out, not going to any meetings. They have like a tyranny of distance going on. And that gives them complete control. So when you say they missed an opportunity, they took advantage of this opportunity.
That's the point.
To create a new religion, to create a new man, a new system of things. Yeah, they took advantage of the COVID crisis, the 15 days to flatten the curve, and they turned it into a whole new religion, which is good in their case. Which is good because it gave them what they needed to destroy the old. And now they're sitting on billions of dollars of property that they don't need.
But the point is that the missed opportunity and the fact that they took the opportunity and used it a different direction goes to show the light that they shine. Jehovah's organization here on earth shined its light. And Jesus says that the light that you shine is darkness.
And you know what? The funny thing is, we could have just witnessed a separation of the wheat and the weeds.
Correct.
We could have. I don't know. These are great consequential times we're living through. I know that all the Jehovah's Witnesses we grew up, we're 50 years old now. All the ones we grew up with 50 years ago, they're all dead. The ones that taught us the truth are dead. And they were liars in our community. In every city in the United States, there was elders like that who were preaching door to door on every door that Armageddon was going to come in their lifetime. Well, they all were liars. They are all proven liars in the name of God that they used. What I'm trying to say is that these people have been proven to be taking advantage of people. So they took advantage of this situation that we're going through right now, this 15 weeks to flatten the curve, to change everything. I mean, it really helps them. And you know what's something interesting is some coincidences of that. The Watchtower has closed more kingdom halls than Russia. Also, if you listen to Watchtower talk about Russia, don't they sound like the evening news?
Correct. That you need a boogeyman. You know, Watchtower needs a boogeyman. And also...
Yeah, isn't it a coincidence that they're both Russia? With the evening news, it's Russia. Russia's doing this. Russia's doing that. They're the boogeyman. And if you watch JW.org, go to JW.org, you're going to see Russia in the headlines. And you know what? And in the last elections and in the last years, a term in the basement. You know, a lot of people talk about basement with people don't come out of the basement. They're in hiding. They're in fear. But Jehovah's Witness, that defines that Jehovah's Witness is very good too.
Correct.
They're in the basement. You know, like Kevin was in the bunker.
Now, I just want to say one of the most beautiful things about creation, you know, there's so many beautiful things. Numbers, you know, mathematics is so beautiful because if you want to know sometimes if something is truthful or something's a lie, depending on the situation, numbers is what God gave us to help us find lies and truth. Now, the numbers that we put out, and I got this from like 3 minutes of research, so I could be wrong, but the last report that I saw of Russia had 2,315 congregations, and that same report said that it said 120,387 congregations worldwide. So using Jehovah's Witnesses' own words, and I'm always say this because it comes out of the words of my brother-in-law and everybody else in the English congregations, especially. It says Jehovah's organization here on earth. Okay, Jehovah's organization here on earth has done more damage to the kingdom halls and to the association of brothers. Jehovah has shut down via his organization, because remember, words mean things. If you're saying that Jehovah has an organization here on earth, then Jehovah's organization here on earth shut down 120,387 kingdom halls, and Russia only shut down 2,315. So who's the bigger threat is the question. Who is the bigger threat? That's my question. Who's the bigger threat?
The organization. And you know what? I think the point I wanted to, I know I rambled on a lot, but in a nutshell, this is what I wanted to say. Zoom is an ungodly form of spiritual food, genetically modified. And every apostate has to understand this. On this we can live and die. Is that Jesus is the bread of life. You know, Jesus is his body and his blood are our life. He came in person. So this thing, we could never surrender this Zoom meeting that the Watchtower comes up with now. And just, they can't get away with this. This is the image of the beast. This is a genetically modified spiritual food. On this, I mean, this is a fastball down the middle. We could hit it out of the park. This is not any form of Christianity that we know of. No form of Christianity. This is some ungodly, I don't want to use the word demon or nothing, but this is not Christianity. This is, God did not give us a spirit of fear, 2 Timothy 1:7. This is the meaning of the definition of meaning of fear. This is the reign of terror. A reign of terror. You keep everybody in complete and total fear of this virus, and you build this new man called Zoom. When you tell Jehovah's Witnesses this on social media, they always rebutted that. No, we're still getting spiritual food. We're making all our meetings. We're writing letters. We're still in the ministry. I mean, they lie to themselves. And this is why I say this is a genetically modified form of Christianity. It can't stand. Every apostate has to hit them over the head on this. This is not any form of Christianity.
You know, that illustration makes sense. That illustration makes sense because if you have spiritually deficient food, you know, it's genetically modified, right? It makes you weak as a human being. Well, same thing with spiritual food, right? If you're getting your spiritual food from Zoom and you think that's quote unquote association, that doesn't lead to strong mental thinking.
No, and not only that,
Yeah.
you're not going to have vitamin D. You're not
Correct.
going to have vitamin C.
Mhm.
You're not going to have a strong, robust
Immune system.
mind
Yeah.
and body
Mhm.
to fight these viruses running around.
Correct.
The virus of the brain going around right now.
Correct.
If you're feeding yourself with spiritual food from Zoom,
Mhm.
Jesus talked about the man who built on a sorry foundation, and the rains came and took away the house. That's what Zoom is. It's a sorry foundation. Christ is better. Christ is the bread of life, not Zoom.
Correct.
And then they go, well, no, it's just a form of communication. Jesus came and met people.
Mhm.
Blood on blood, hand on hand.
Stayed in people's homes, yeah. Stayed in people's homes, yeah. Went into a crowded synagogue or homes where people had to tear open the roof to get in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these people, they're surrendering their Fourth Amendment right to privacy.
Yeah. And that too, yeah.
And Watchtower led them there. Watchtowers led them there. And they are not discreet. In all communist organizations in the 20th century, 1920th centuries, and 21st century, you always had spies in the church. You always had spies working for the state committee on churches. You don't have to with Zoom now. Everything's recorded for them. The Watchtower is doing the work for the state. And here's the thing. And go, well, you're too hard on Watchtower. Hold on. They're the ones who claim to be God's mouthpiece, spokespeople on earth.
Correct.
They had a responsibility to take care of the sheep.
Correct.
They had a responsibility to take care of Christ's children.
Correct.
They're the ones who took the position. They're the ones who said that it's like a baseball player who says, you know what, I'm going to bat fourth. And I'm going to hit a home run every time. And you go up there and you strike out every time. No, dude. You can't bat fourth if you never touch the ball. Watchtower had a responsibility saying that they were God's chosen people on earth, God's spokesperson, and then they refused to speak of God. Then they followed the things of demons and organizations. And they're camouflage Christians. They're not Christians. And every apostate should know this. These are not Christian men. Christian men are discreet. These are not discreet men. Christian men are in communion with Christ's body. These men are not in communion with Christ's body.
Correct.
If anything, they keep people from Christ. It's sad. It's extremely sad. Yeah, and they built a new world. They built a new world. They said they were going to do it. It's a new system, better said.
Correct.
It's a new system. And the pandemic helped it, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah. The green light is on, and they press their pedal to the metal.
All right. Real good. Then we'll talk to you later, guys.
Okay, thanks.